I was born deaf into a deaf family. We lived in a small town, in a poor neighborhood. We had poor communication in my house. We didn't use sign language. We only used simple and basic signs like food and sleep. If it were more complex than that, my parents would take me by the hand and show me, this no, this yes. My parents did not educate me. They couldn't read nor write. We never spoke of our emotions. And I grew up when I was 8. Welfare intervened. They decided to send me to a residential home, which is a place that children with dysfunctional parents were sent to, in a different city, away from home. Imagine an 8-year-old with poor communication skills, not understanding, arriving at a home. I looked around. The place scared me. It looked like a prison, surrounded by bars, filled with strangers. I didn't understand what I was doing there. My parents were incapable of explaining it to me. I was petrified and helpless. The other girls saw me as weak, and pretty soon I was shunned. One night, I was sleeping in my bed. Suddenly, water was poured at me. I woke up startled and I cried and I cried. I didn't understand what was going on. I cried so hard that I was exhausted and fell back asleep. I woke up again when they glued my lips together, and again when they hit me. I was startled and I cried and I yelled out to my mother and father, but no one was there. I realized that I was all alone. I realized that crying, complaining, being scared would do no good. I had to learn how to fit in. From that day on, I started to learn sign language. I watched the social interaction, trying to understand how the leader attracted her followers, what they liked, what they needed. My school was outside of the home, in a different place, with different students, deaf students, that lived with their families and came to the school each day. Every morning I would go from the home to the school. I was lucky to be the only girl from the home integrated in my class. Everything I learned at the home, I applied at school. I tried to cooperate more, show interest in the other kids, and slowly, with time, I managed to fit in. The following years, when growing up in that home, I used to watch those kids at school. They intrigued me. They would bring boxes with different types of food each day, and I would get the same simple cheese sandwich day in and day out. Their clothes were stylish, colorful, modern, and fitted, and I would get clothes like you get in prison. Sometimes it was too big. Nobody cared. I used to listen to their stories about hanging out with friends, going to parties, going on family trips on weekends. And I felt like I was living in a black and white movie, and they in a colorful one. Through them, I realized that there's another way to life, and that gave me hope. It was the first time that I dared dream that I one day would have a life like theirs. When I reached 15, I had to make a decision whether to continue to another home or go to a regular school. I didn't hesitate for even 1 second. I decided to choose a different life. It was like breaking out of prison. I moved to the big city, the city that never stops, Tel Aviv. I looked around. It was so colorful and lively. I felt like I was reborn. My school was near the beach. I met new friends immediately, and I fell in love with my life. I lived each day as if there was no tomorrow. When I reached 18, I graduated from school. My only concern was to find a place to stay, a place to sleep. I had no support and no guidance. And I found my first place. It was a trailer. It was such an amazing experience. And looking back, I realized that I learned 3 very important things that helped me build an independent life for myself. The first is that hardship is temporary. It is hard, but it passes. The second is, struggle is an opportunity to acquire tools for whatever comes in the future. And the third is that hardship is proportional. I believe that we all get exactly what we can handle. The following years, after that trailer, I moved from city to city, all around the country. I worked in temporary jobs. I traveled all around the world as well. I met new cultures and new people. And I also met the love of my life. We got married, and we had 3 amazing daughters. With my daughters, my sense of responsibility was born as well. I started being worried about the future of my family. I was working in a clothing store at the time, folding clothes. I hated my job. I wanted to be with my girls. I started asking myself and thinking, how could I reach economic freedom and be a good model for my girls? I wanted them to know I can do everything. I was thinking and thinking, and then I remembered my wandering days, and I realized that it gave me a good knowledge of real estate and that it interests me as well. So I was in that store folding clothes, and I would start to imagine how I find properties, rent them out, fix them up, sell them, and create an income for myself, freeing myself to be with my family. So I decided to go and learn overseas real estate investing. It was challenging. I don't speak English. Technology is no friend of mine. I can't pick up the phone and call. But there's a solution to anything if you think outside the box. Anything I couldn't do by myself, I would just find somebody else to do it for me. You don't have to do everything on your own. In my real estate class, we would get assignments like calling realtors, and I would use an interpreter to call for me. Like right now, I'm using an interpreter so all of you can understand what I am saying. I also cooperated with a hearing team. We each had a role. One was in charge of doing the phone calls, the other analyzing the market, and I was in charge of finding investors. And today, I'm an international real estate entrepreneur, investing in the United States and in Israel. The dream of economic freedom was fulfilled. But I never stopped dreaming. I kept on going. I became a real estate mentor for deaf and hearing people, and I help people become entrepreneurs themselves. While I was mentoring, people would come up to me and say that I was helping them, but not only in real estate. I was helping them break their boundaries as well. With that, a new dream was born. To start giving talks, to share my story, and to help as many people as possible. My biggest dream was to give a TEDx talk, and here I am today, fulfilling that dream. While my team and myself were preparing this talk, we made a whole draft, and then we stopped and realized that we talked about my whole life journey without mentioning my deafness at all. As you noticed, we did add the topic throughout my talk. But really, how can it be? My whole life story without mentioning my deafness? I was not surprised. The answer is clear to me. My deafness does not stop me. My deafness does not define me. And today, I am celebrating my 40th birthday. And if to sum 40 years of life in one sentence, it would be dare to dream greatly. Yes, there will be voices telling you that it's impossible. Don't listen to them. Be deaf from time to time. Thank you.